All right, so we're diving deep into low carb and keto, which is great. But there are some sneaky mistakes that can sabotage success. So today we're using your source material to expose the 7 most common mistakes people make on low carb and give you actionable tips to avoid them.
You know what's fascinating is how many of these mistakes stem from misunderstanding the core principles of low-carb eating. We'll break down not just the what, but the why, so you can make informed
I
choices.
love that.
Huh?
Okay, so mistake number 1, not eating enough fat. Eat more fat on a diet. Isn't that like the opposite of what we're supposed to do?
It seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But when you drastically reduce carbs, your body needs an alternative fuel source.
Right.
And healthy fats not only provide that energy, they're vital for hormone production and cell function.
Okay, so it's not just about replacing calories, it's about giving your body what it needs to thrive. But I've also heard that going overboard with fats can be a problem. So is there a sweet spot?
Absolutely. Mistake number 2 is consuming too much fat. While those creamy, cheesy low-carb recipes might look tempting, remember, calories still matter even on low carb. To effectively lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit.
Got it. So portion control is still key, even though we're shifting our focus to fats. Okay, this next one is interesting. Sodium.
Yeah, mistake number 3 is neglecting sodium, which is often misunderstood. When you initially cut carbs, you often see a rapid drop on the scale, which might lead you to believe it's all fat loss. But a good chunk of that is water weight. As your insulin levels go down, your body flushes out excess sodium, and water goes with it.
Aha, so that's why some sources recommend upping your salt intake a bit on low carb.
Exactly. Replenishing sodium is crucial for maintaining electrolyte balance and avoiding the dreaded keto flu. You know, those fatigue headaches, muscle cramps.
No one wants that. Plus, I'm guessing the amount of sodium you're adding to home-cooked meals is minimal compared to the hidden sodium lurking in all those processed foods you're probably ditching anyway.
You got
Okay, speaking of challenges, mistake number 4. Quitting too soon. I think we've all been there. You know, you start a new way of eating, feel a bit off, and think, forget this.
It's so understandable. Your body needs time to adapt to burning fat for fuel. Instead of relying on those carbs, this metabolic shift, it's called fat adaptation. It can take anywhere from a few days to 2 weeks. And you might experience a dip in energy, especially during workouts.
So those energy slumps are normal. It's not a sign that low carb is wrong for me.
Not at all. It's usually just your body recalibrating. The key is to push through that initial phase. Stay hydrated, replenish those electrolytes. Once you become fat adapted, your energy levels will likely stabilize and even improve.
Music to my ears. Okay, let's talk about something a little less glamorous. Mistake number 5, fiber fail. What's the deal with fiber on a low carb diet?
Fiber is essential for everyone, but it's super crucial on low carb, where you might be limiting certain high fiber foods, like fruits and grains. It's not just about, digestive regularity. Fiber nourishes your gut microbiome, which impacts everything from immunity to mental health, even chronic disease risk.
Wow, so fiber's got a much bigger role than I realized.
For sure. Aim for at least 25 grams of fiber a day from low-carb friendly sources like non-starchy veggies, nuts, seeds, avocados.
Got it. Okay, mistake number 6. Strictness backlash. I mean, diets that feel like punishment never work in the long run, right?
You're so right. Sustainability is key with any dietary change. That's why it's so important to approach low carb with flexibility.
So it's okay to enjoy a treat or a meal that's not strictly low carb every now and then.
Absolutely. You know, the source material really emphasizes incorporating occasional indulgences and free meals. This helps prevent feelings of deprivation and those rebound binges that can totally sabotage your progress.
Makes sense. It's about finding that balance. Okay, final mistake. Social fear. Raise your hand if you've ever felt like a weirdo ordering a salad while everyone else is feasting on pizza. It's hard to stick to any diet when you feel like you're missing out on social gatherings.
I totally get it. Social connection is vital for our well-being. You shouldn't have to choose between your health goals and your social life.
So how do you navigate those situations without feeling like you're sacrificing your progress or becoming a social outcast?
You know, the key is to approach it with a positive and proactive mindset. Plan ahead. Check menus in advance. Don't be afraid to ask for modifications to make dishes more low-carb friendly. And remember, you can always focus on enjoying the company and the conversation, rather than feeling pressured to eat everything on your plate.
Love that. So we've uncovered 7 common low-carb mistakes, and more importantly, how to avoid them. It's about fueling your body with healthy fats, being mindful of portions, staying hydrated, prioritizing fiber, and finding a sustainable approach that fits your lifestyle and preferences.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. In part 2, we'll dive deeper into the nuances of low-carb living. Stay tuned.
Can't wait. Welcome back. So we're digging deeper into the world of low carb, and I'm ready to unlock some more expert secrets for success.
Excellent. I love the enthusiasm.
So last time we debunked some major myths like not eating enough fat, going overboard with fat, and that whole sodium thing. We also covered fiber, the importance of flexibility, and how to handle those social situations without feeling restricted.
You know, it's amazing how much confusion there is around these topics. But once you understand the basics, it all becomes much clearer.
Totally agree. It's like a light bulb moment. But one thing that I'm still kind of wondering about is nutrients. You know, when you're cutting out entire food groups like grains and stuff, how do you make sure you're getting everything your body needs?
It's a great question, and it's something a lot of people worry about. But the key here is nutrient density. So think about packing as much nutritional value as possible into every single bite.
Okay, so instead of focusing on what I'm not eating, I should be focusing on foods that are like supercharged with nutrients.
Exactly. Leafy greens, colorful peppers, cruciferous veggies like broccoli and cauliflower, those should be your staples. Then add in things like avocados, nuts, seeds, high-quality protein sources like fish, poultry, eggs.
Got it. So it's not about eliminating categories. It's about choosing the best options within each category.
Right.
And earlier we talked about fiber being a potential pitfall on low carb. How do you make sure you're hitting that 25 grams a day goal without relying on grains?
Well, chia seeds and flax seeds are amazing for this.
Oh yeah, I love adding those to smoothies.
Perfect. And don't forget about all those non-starchy veggies. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, spinach, asparagus, they're all fiber powerhouses.
Plus they're so versatile, you can do so much with them.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about avocados, a great source of both fiber and healthy fats.
Okay, I'm loving all these suggestions. What about nuts, though? They seem like they'd be a good fit, but aren't they high in calories?
Nuts like almonds, walnuts, pecans. They're definitely welcome on a low-carb plan. They offer fiber, healthy fats, and protein, which makes them a super satisfying snack. But you're right, portion control is important. Stick to a handful at a time to avoid overdoing it on the calories.
This is all making so much sense, but to be honest, thinking about planning all these low-carb meals, it feels a little overwhelming.
I hear you. Meal planning is a game changer. It's about being proactive. So you're not scrambling for food when you're already starving.
I can see that. But where do you even begin?
Start by setting aside a specific time each week, maybe Sunday evening, to plan out your meals for the coming week. Think breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks.
Okay, that sounds manageable.
And don't forget about leftovers. They're a lifesaver during a busy week.
Absolutely. I love a good leftover.
Once you have your meal plan, make a detailed grocery list and stick to it when you're at the store.
Okay, speaking of the grocery store, do you have any tips for navigating those aisles on a low-carb mission? It's so easy to get tempted.
My golden rule is to stick to the perimeter of the store. That's where you'll find the fresh produce, the meat, seafood, and dairy.
And avoid those inner aisles with all the processed snacks and sugary treats.
Exactly.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right. And always read labels carefully. Look for whole, unprocessed foods whenever possible. Pay attention to that carb count.
Great advice. But you know, cravings happen. Those moments when you do anything for a slice of pizza or pasta. How do you deal with those without derailing your progress?
Cravings are totally normal. Don't beat yourself up about them. Sometimes acknowledging the craving without giving in is enough to let it pass.
So just ride the wave.
Yeah, but if it persists, try finding a low-carb alternative.
Yeah.
That satisfies a similar need. Like if you're craving pizza, whip up a cauliflower crust pizza. Missing pasta, experiment with zucchini noodles or spaghetti squash.
Love those swaps. You can get so creative in the kitchen these days.
Definitely.
But even with all these strategies, I think staying motivated is the biggest challenge for people.
I agree. Especially when you hit those inevitable bumps in the road.
So true. It's easy to get discouraged. What are your go-to tips for staying motivated?
Set realistic goals. Don't try to change everything overnight. Start small and gradually build from there. And celebrate every win along the way.
I love that. Celebrate the wins.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to seek support from others, whether it's a friend, family member, or an online community. Having that support system makes a huge difference.
It's like having a personal cheering squad.
Exactly.
Okay, this has been super helpful. I'm feeling much more confident about the whole low-carb thing now.
That's great to hear. And in part 3, we'll tackle some common myths and misconceptions about low carb. And we'll also discuss the potential benefits and risks, so you can make informed choices about whether this approach is right for you.
I can't wait. All right, welcome back for the final part of our low-carb deep dive. We've covered so much ground already, from those common mistakes to meal planning. But now it's time to really separate fact from fiction.
It's exactly. There's a lot of myths and misconceptions surrounding low carb, and it's important to have the right information to make good choices.
I totally agree. So let's dive right in. One of the biggest myths I always hear is that low carb is bad for your heart. With all that focus on fat people worry about, cholesterol.
Right, it's a valid concern, but it's crucial to remember that not all fats are created equal. Like we discussed healthy fats, like the ones in olive oil avocados, nuts, fatty fish, they're actually good for your heart.
Okay, so it's not about fearing fat altogether. It's about choosing the right types.
Yeah, and when you cut back on refined carbs and sugars,
Yeah.
you often see improvements in things like blood pressure, triglyceride levels, even HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol.
That's reassuring. Another concern I often hear is that low-carb diets lack essential nutrients because you're cutting out entire food groups.
I mean, while it's true that restricting certain foods requires planning, it's definitely possible to get all the nutrients you need on a low-carb diet. As we've been saying, focusing on nutrient-dense whole foods is key.
Right, so it's not just what you're not eating. It's about making sure what you are eating is packed with nutrition.
Exactly.
Okay, so another big one is the idea that low-carb is just a fad diet, a quick fix that's not sustainable.
That's a big misconception. Sustainability should be like the foundation of any good low-carb approach.
Yeah, it's not about, deprivation or crazy restriction. It's about finding a way of eating that you can actually stick with long term.
For sure.
Okay, so we've tackled some myths. Now let's talk about some of the potential benefits. What can people expect to see when they adopt a well-planned, sustainable, low-carb lifestyle?
Well, one of the most well-known benefits is weight loss. By cutting carbs, your body starts burning stored fat for fuel.
Right, that's the whole premise behind keto.
Exactly. And although you don't have to be in ketosis to benefit from low carb, a lot of people find that reducing carbs helps them lose weight and keep it off.
Okay, so besides weight loss, what else?
A lot of people report better blood sugar control, especially those with type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance. Limiting carbs helps minimize those blood sugar spikes and crashes, so you have more stable energy levels throughout the day.
Makes sense. I've also heard people say they feel more mentally clear on low carb. Is there any truth to that?
There's some evidence suggesting that stable blood sugar, which often comes with low-carb eating, can actually improve cognitive function and mental focus.
Wow. So low carb could actually boost brain power.
Potentially, yeah. Obviously, it varies from person to person, but a lot of people say they feel sharper and more alert on a low-carb diet.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential positives, but it's also important to address any potential downsides or risks.
Definitely, we need to be balanced. One common side effect, especially early on, is the keto flu.
I've heard of that, but it's not actually the flu, right?
No, it's just a group of symptoms that can pop up as your body adjusts. Things like fatigue, headaches, maybe some nausea, muscle cramps.
And we talked about how electrolyte imbalances, especially sodium depletion, can make those symptoms worse.
Exactly. So replenishing electrolytes is really important. Other potential downsides might be digestive issues like constipation, especially if you're not getting enough fiber. And some people might experience nutrient deficiencies if they're not careful.
That's why we've talked about focusing on nutrient-dense foods, getting enough fiber, and working with a healthcare professional.
Exactly. It's so important to listen to your body and pay attention to any negative changes.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. We've learned about common low-carb mistakes, potential benefits and risks, and most importantly, how to make low-carb work for you.
Remember, knowledge is power. Being informed helps you make the best choices for your health.
Absolutely. As we wrap up, I want you to think about what really resonated with you today. What are some key takeaways that you can use on your own low-carb journey?
This is just the start of your exploration. We're here to support you every step of the way.
Happy eating, everyone!